I'm from Fort Zumwalt North High School, Troop 5140, and I am thrilled to be able to introduce today's keynote speaker to you. I first met Jason when he was just 9 years old. I was directing a children's theater troupe and suddenly was confronted with this miniature bundle of energy. And I mean energy, a lot of energy. But even more than that, I saw this kid that had so much interest, not in the part that he was supposed to play, but in all the inner workings of the show. Lots of ideas. For 20-year-old me, that was a real challenge. It was like, thanks, Jason, thanks for the, ideas, move on along now. And to my dismay, he would keep coming back with more ideas. What's extraordinary is that as annoying as his 9-year-old take on my show was, I knew at the same time that this young man would be a force to be reckoned with someday. He was not going to take no for an answer. He was going to shape his life in his own way, to his standards, on his terms. And I'm so proud of the path that he's forged from small town boy at Fort Zumwalt North High School, moving all the way up to New York and on the Broadway team of Wicked. I'm proud of the principles that he has upheld along the way and the truly wonderful man that he has become. I feel so blessed to call him my friend. Missouri Thespians, please welcome to the stage your keynote speaker, Mr. Jason Daunter.
Hi, my name is Krista Carson-El. Hi, and I'm thrilled to be introducing Jason as the keynote speaker for the California Thespians Virtual Festival. Jason's Broadway credits as production stage manager include To Kill a Mockingbird starring Jeff Daniels, Meteor Shower, A Doll's House Part 2 with Laurie Metcalf, Shuffle Along, Wicked, Glory Days, Cyrano de Bergerac starring Kevin Kline. His national tours include A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, Wicked, Chicago, Thoroughly Modern Millie, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and A Christmas Carol. Jason has been fortunate to work closely with theater luminaries such as Meryl Streep, Chita Rivera, Steve Martin, Aaron Sorkin, Chris Cooper, Laura Benanti, and directors from Joe Mantello to Jerry Zaks and George C. Wolfe. On the national level of educational theater, Jason is a recipient of the Educational Theater Association's President and Founders Award. Jason is a proud member of Thespian Troop 5140, Fort Zumwalt North High School in O'Fallon, Missouri, and an honorary member of Troop 5929 and California's own 2129 at Claremont High School. Finally, Jason is a recent recipient of the state of California. He's recently joined the Disneyland Resort team, part of the Disney Parks Live Entertainment. So now it's time to put your hands together for virtual applause for a fellow thespian, Jason Daunter.
Hi! This is, oh, look at that. I brought my own applause. You're welcome. You knew I would do that, right? How are you? It's so good.
I'm good. I'm missing 1,500 thespians tonight.
I know. We've talked about that a lot this week, that I'm used to doing this in front of a live audience. So this is very, very different. I just adore you, and also have to give a shout out to Gay Jones. And just the state of California has been my second home for a long time. 2129 is your school.
My school.
So I'm an honorary member of Claremont High School. I'm very excited. You guys had me 5 years ago, I think, about 5 or 6 years ago for California. And I obviously didn't wreck the car then, so I'm back tonight to do this. And I said, let's try it. And I thought, let's see if it works. So it's gonna be something. But thanks for having me. I'm gonna do what I do and start. Is that all right?
Please.
Krista Carson-El, hi everybody. I love her. Hi California, hi nation, hi Missouri, hi Troop 5140 right there. I'm repping my swag that Missouri gave to me that has class of 99, because that was the year I graduated. So I'm Jason Daunter. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm gonna set some ground rules for tonight. You're gonna hear me talk super fast. I like to use my hands, so my hands are framed in the shot. I will ramble all over the place. And I kind of have a roadmap, but I don't know if I'll stick to it or not. If you've got something to say or tell us where you're from, post it in the comments right over there. and you can do a shout out. Let us know where you're watching from if you're not just in California. We might pull some questions from you. You want to know something? You can also follow me on Instagram, Daunter, Projects with Jason, which we'll talk about later. All of that, right? So comments. I am the most insecure person in this room tonight. Let's just start right off the bat with that, all right? I don't claim to be the authority on anything. Just because I've had a good time in New York City on Broadway and been very lucky to get the opportunities that I've had and to work with the people that I've gotten to work with does not mean that I think that I'm better than anyone else. So let's be clear. If you hear me say one thing tonight, it's that you personally, and I'm talking to every single one of you, can achieve anything you want to achieve in your life if you want to work hard enough for it. Now, that last part, you want to work hard enough for it. That's the part that goes with it. Some people stop listening, right? That you can have whatever you want, because I want $1 million. Trust me. I was playing to, computer screens. I said, what am I, Evan Hansen? Like this feels very Evan Hansen tonight. But you have to be ready to work hard enough for it. All right. That's the part that people sort of miss sometimes, and be willing to give up things and sacrifice. You may not know where you want to go. And trust me, with what we're dealing with right now, there's a lot of unknowns. All right. And it sounds totally crazy, but Frozen 2 Into the Unknown, listen to those lyrics. Show Yourself, another one. Those are two great songs from that movie that when I was literally packing up my life in New York about 10 weeks ago and moving across the country for a job and just leaving stakes of 13 years in a city, they would hit me in a really weird emotional way. And I know right now with what we're going on, like emotions are true and they pop up when you least expect them. So who knows? You may see them from me tonight. So yeah, I think those are the ground rules, right? I'm going to ramble. I'm going to talk about me. So if you don't want to hear about me, it's totally fine. Check out. Don't, think I'm going to talk about somebody else because all I know is me. I fought really long and hard to find who I am, and I'm kind of digging him right now, But again, this is like walking back into high school for me. So there's always, I don't really enjoy doing these, truthfully. And tonight, especially without being able to know if you're with me or not, it's really kind of scary. So do use that. I like this. I know what side I'm going to. I like the comment box to the other side over there. So, you like something, throw some hands up. We have recorded applause here. I'm not running it, which is a complete problem for an A-type control freak personality like me. So, but we've got that if something, motivates them here in Studio 2. I'm coming to you from Ladera Ranch, California. I should tell you that. And the studio is a living room. So let's go. Let's start, right? Where did I come from and who am I? That's what you're asking yourself is, who am I? All right. Well, I'm Jason Daunter. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. And then there he is. Look at him right there. I wore a lot of three-piece suits in those days, a lot of formal wear as a child. I think we all knew where I was going at that point. But I was born in Detroit, Michigan. We moved to St. Louis, Missouri when I was 9. My parents got a divorce. And we moved to St. Louis, and I was then, raised there, right? So I remember this mirror. This is the end of my grandparents' hallway, and I remember just sort of staring into it. And I sort of dug, I guess, the outfit. I don't know what I dug about it, but I just sort of liked everything about it and saw something. I don't know if I saw who I really was going to become in that moment or not, but that was what I saw, right? So there it is. So I grow up in St. Louis. And I'm a child of divorce, and my 5th grade teacher sees something in me. All right. And she says to my mom, she says, I think you should have him audition for the High School Musical. They're doing this Christmas Carol. It's a production that they're putting adults, kids, everybody into it. You should take him and have him audition for this, right? And educators, I want you to hear me tonight too when I say those that can do and those that can't teach is the biggest BS statement I've ever heard. Those that can and want to teach need to teach. And now you're having to teach through virtual teaching computers and, this and not having the connection. And parents are now having to be teachers as more and more schools announce they're not going back for the year. This is crazy. So those that can need to teach because they are the ones that see things in us that we don't even see, right? That we don't know who we are, and you see it. And we may not know that that's who you see and who we're going to become, right? So anyway, so the teachers, there we go. They're on that. So I'm told to go audition for this Christmas Carol production. I audition, I get cast. My brother and I are both in it. And we end up getting to work with the high school students. There were teachers in it. And I got to work at the high school that I would eventually be filtering into as a freshman. what I got at the time was this sense of family and community. I had a great home life. We got to live with my grandparents, which was amazing. But I got this sense of community, and then years later, it was collaboration. That's what I was really digging, right? Was this whole idea of collaboration and working with people and this something bigger than you, that we were all part of something bigger than us and working toward the same common goal. I remember the two directors, the musical director and the theater director, wrote in my program, which I still have. And when you pack up your life in New York, it's funny what you bring. You bring boxes of programs and posters and thank you cards. And how do we judge our life in this business? We judge it by that. That's how I judge it. We judge it in the moments and the people that changed and altered and shaped our lives. Cliche, but because I knew you, I have been changed for good, right? So the two of them wrote in my program, we can't wait to have you in the high school program. We can't wait to see you in high school. You don't know how many times I went to that program during middle school. You know, during those awful, some of you are just a few minutes from it, right? You just got out of middle school, but you couldn't pay me enough to go back to those days. And now with all the social media and the way people can now cyberbully, there were literally people that I think got up every day with the goal of making my life a living hell. And that was just their purpose at the time, right? So where did my wit, where did my humor, where did all that come from? It came from having to get to the joke before they got to the joke. So that was that, right? So I get through middle school, I get to high school. I have no interest in academics. You know, I'm not interested in math, science, those classes. I just want to be in theater. And it was my safe space, right? So my grades are in the can. There's no grades, right? So I can belt G's and A flats in those days because I was a performer, and I was like, it's not going to matter. I was like, college programs are going to take me because I'm talented. Well, guess what? College programs were not interested in how much talent I had. They wanted me to also have grades to back it up. Literally, I don't know if you guys still take the ACT, if that's still a thing. I don't know if let me know, is it still a thing? But the ACT, I got a 13 on it. 1-3. I remember I literally sat there and was like, A, B, C. Oh, look, it makes a smiley face. C, B, A. I'm done. You know, before they even said pencils down, I was done. So there was that. So no college wants me. I can't get in anywhere. And I'm like, it's April. And it's like right now. And I didn't have a school to go to. Northwest Missouri State finally called back and said, we have an academic probation program. We'll put you in that. If you take this, and if you don't get your grades up in the first semester, then we kick you out of the school. And if you do get your grades up, then you can declare a major and stay. So again, I wasn't really in the moment at the time. And I thought, you know, let's see what this is all about kind of thing. So I went, thought I would transfer to, I was going to say the names. I'm not going to say the names, the big schools. I almost said it. It was a W sound. So if you want to read into it, you can, but I'm not going to say them. The big schools, I thought I'll transfer into one of the big schools. And I got to school and 3.8. I graduated Northwest with a 3.8 grade point average. What you'll find is that when you're going to college and you're paying for it, you tend to go to class. It's coming out of my pocket, right? I flunked one class in college. It was General Earth Science. Yeah, but that's $700 later because General Earth Science and General Earth Science Lab, because there was like, sidebar, there were 13 theater majors that took the class together because we thought that was a good idea. It was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. And I think I was the one that said, if there's 13 of us, why are all of us going to the class 3 days a week? That's just silly. Somebody goes, you circle back to the rest of us later and we can just share notes. Unbeknownst to me, they were all going, right? I could have cared less. And then, of course, I went to the professor and cried and turned on the tears and I'd really been trying. And he had been a theater major himself and called me out on all of it. So there was no that. But I did get out of Northwest with a 3.8 grade point average, right? So that leads up to this point, right? So again, I want to set some ground rules. So you're going to hear me talk about opportunities and obstacles tonight. So let's look at the definitions of what opportunities and obstacles mean, right? So you can hear, because I'm going to set my entire life when I've set this is like, what do they actually mean, right? So opportunity, the actual definition of opportunity is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. I think we can all agree on that, right? There's some circumstances in your life that make it possible for you to do something. An obstacle. All right, the obstacle, what is that? That is the thing that blocks one way or prevent or hinders progress. Okay, so I kind of this whole driving analogy tonight, right? That the opportunities you're going to go visit a friend. The obstacle is the road's closed or no right turn or there's wet conditions or you don't have gas. We can come up with a number of obstacles. The thing is that I was told a lot when I first got to New York that you've been given everything. You've been given everything in your career. And I took it in because there's a lot of things that you will hear. You will hear sound bites and you will react to them. We are products of our environment, right? We either fight against it or we adopt it. So when you hear those things and everybody around you sort of saying them, and whether they're saying them because they're jealous and they're trying to cut you down, it's up in the air as to why they do those things, but you do hear it and it gets internalized somewhere. And so I'm like, maybe I have. And then I had a boss tell me, my very first boss on Broadway, she said, you've been given opportunities. It's what you did with the opportunity that got you the next opportunity. Does that make sense? So I could have walked in and when I give people opportunities now, you see what they do the first time, and then you move from there into the next opportunity, right? So that's the obstacles. Sometimes you're putting them in your own way. Like me in high school, the grades, that was an obstacle I created for myself. It wasn't even the universe putting it in my path. It was me creating that own obstacle. So there we are. So now we get into Northwest. I'm in my zone. I love college. You're around people that are the same type of person. You can pick your professors. You can pick who's with you. So it's a complete different ball game. So Northwest, then I have a 3.8. I had an amazing, I have to give a shout out to Mike D. Morris, who is no longer with us, but he was my directing professor. He came into Northwest at a time where there was kind of directing professors, but not really. And just, I sort of fell into this. I wanted to direct. I really felt strongly about it. I wasn't interested in performing. I did like 2 roles in college. I was Big Julie in Guys and Dolls and Sir Peter Teasel in School for Scandal, because Mike Morris, my directing professor, said, you've been directing a lot. Why don't you go back on stage your senior year and I'll cast you in a small part in School for Scandal. And he gave me the lead, which caused holy hell in the theater department. And, and I had to memorize all this unrhymed prose, which it was great to do at the time. Not for me. I like being off stage. I know it doesn't make any sense tonight that I'm doing this, but I do. I enjoy being backstage. I love walking out of Wicked and nobody knowing who I am. That I would walk out that stage door every night and nobody knew that I was integral to that show happening and that process going on at the theater that night. So Mike was an amazing resource in my life. And those people that you encounter, your theater teachers, your choir director, the dance school person, they are all going to be with you for the remainder of your life. And you'll hear them and they'll be on your shoulder at some point when you need them most. So I get out of I decided at Northwest, I'm going to now go to grad school. I'm going to go to grad school and I got a 3.8. Hey, it's me again. Remember, I didn't have the grades before. Now I'm back, got a 3.8. I've directed 7 shows. All the master's programs were like, we want you to have more life experience. So there was that. So again, obstacle. And you're like, I just can't get a break, right? So I would always invent new opportunities for myself every time there was an obstacle and figure out how to get around it. So before we get into the New York stuff, because I can do this tonight and it's my gig, I don't ever get to, when I'm touring across the country doing these, get to recognize the people that are so instrumental in my life. We had Teresa at the top, Teresa Niggas, who had a children's group that I was in, as she told you. And she introduced me in 2015 because Tina Krogan, my teacher, wasn't at that event. And, you can't travel them to where you are. And it's so few and far between that you can say thank you to these people that really molded and shaped you. So through the virtual internet that we are tonight, this was one of the things that I said I wanted to do tonight. And I was told, yes, you must. So we're going to go all the way to O'Fallon, Missouri, where Tim and Tina Krogan are standing by, who are my high school theater teachers, and talk to them. So Tim and Tina Krogan, where are you? There they are. Let's turn their mic on, please. There they are. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there you guys are. It is so good to see you guys.
It's great to see you.
And just to be clear, Tina was the teacher that directed Christmas Carol in like 91, I think, I want to say.
Okay.
Right? Tim, you've obviously done all the fact checking, I'm sure. Every fact has been referenced and checked tonight. So yeah, Tina cast, Tina, you can tell the story. You cast me in Christmas Carol, but you tell them.
Well, you were Peter Cratchit, and you were 9 years old. You were just so full of energy. I could see right then that you were drawn to the stage. You wanted to be in the center of all of this creativity. I'm just so lucky that I was there to to inspire that or to receive that. You're a natural.
It was, I mean, you know that I remember that show like there's no tomorrow. Like Don Garbs, who also we've lost, but Lynn Melter, who Sue Meyer, Natalie Jones. It was just the group of people that were together. And I remember that I knew every line, every dance step. I was always, you know, it was funny because I realized the other day, and I was telling people at work that I was telling people at work from home. Let's be clear how that went down. It was through a computer we were conversing. But I was telling them that I feel like from that intro that I actually was closer to knowing who I was at the age of 9 than I thought.
I believe
and that's it's weird, right? That we really are kind of ourselves, and maybe society, maybe whatever it is, makes us think and get in our head to think we're not who we really are. And then these people and these angels on earth like you and the educators out there are there to like sort of tend that and say, no, trust your instinct, trust who you are. Because it was weird, because I was going through old keynotes to really make sure I didn't sound stale. And because again, I'm waiting for my expiration date to hit, and people are like, he's expired. You know, he's coming in on 40, you know, so we don't want to hear from him anymore. So I always want to keep it like fresh. And I watched that, and I watched Teresa's intro, and I showed the team here, and I said, you know, what do you think about this? And they were sort of like, it nails you. And she had you nailed at the age of 9. And I was like, it kind of does, right? That I'm a bull in a china shop. I'm unapologetic. But the one thing is I'm direct, I'm honest, and loyal. So your shows. So then we did what? A Christmas Carol. One season we did like 15 shows.
Yes.
I mean, you were like very much like you ran as fast as the students wanted to run. And you were right there with us, supporting us. And when we said, hey, we want to do this or we want to do that, you were right there with us. Tim then was the auditorium manager, technical director, all of that. And I have credited you for years with the fact that I didn't know it at the time, because I also think so much educating is when we least expect it. You know, and to the teachers, I will say, like, remember those sound bites are also, you're having a bad day. I get it. And you pop off to a student, it's like they're going to hold onto that sound bite just as much as they will the positive sound bites, right? Mm-hmm. But with you guys, I was being trained to be a stage manager at that time and didn't even know it. You know, like we were running events in the theater. Tim, talk about what that was, the theater, and like, you know, all of your stage technicians that, you know, you were so proud of us.
Well, all these elements kind of came together in that first show in 1991. We had opened a new auditorium at the high school, a 500-seat facility, which was wonderful. I was actually hired that year to run it. Tina was the drama department, and we had known each other from college and before, but it worked out really good that this was a learning space for people, especially the drama department, who has to run every aspect of every show. You need technicians backstage. You need them in the booth. You need them in the shop. You need them in the dressing room. Yeah. You need them everywhere. So every aspect of the show was to be run by students. And our philosophy was get them in, get them doing that. But when that show was over, we had choir concerts and band concerts and dance recitals. I needed technicians to work backstage, to learn, to touch the equipment, to be a part of everything, to absorb running these operations. Plus, it made it easier for me because I couldn't be in every spot at the same time. And we had a great time just Tina's shuffling here.
It's like I'm sitting in your living room right now. It's just like we're right there together. I love it.
Environment to be in, because we did classes all day and we did shows at night. And there was a lot of downtime. And while we had one show on stage, we were building another one in the scene shop. We were constantly in production, constantly moving, and it was a lot of fun. And we wanted students to touch the sound, to touch the soundboard, to run the lights, to focus the lights, to hang the lights, to build the sets, all these elements to come together. And that was the true example of everybody being involved and being together. And every show was fine. We did 1 million shows, been seen 1 million faces, and we've rocked the world. You know, it's a reference, by the way, just in case.
Yeah, I mean, and students are all over the country. I mean, we came back when Tina retired. We all kind of surprised her and came back together. And I want to talk for a second about the Spastic Paraplegia Foundation.
Okay.
Because you were sort of forced into retirement. And I remember we sort of just thought you were having like some motor skill, you know, some walking issues as things were going on. So talk to us a little about what spastic paraplegia is.
Well, SPF is the only organization in North America dedicated to finding cures and providing resources for those impacted by hereditary spastic paraplegia and primary lateral sclerosis. Now, I have HSP, which is a chronic degenerative neuromuscular disease similar to ALS.
Sure.
But it affects my mobility.
Walking.
And so SPF, we put their website up, and because they're under the umbrella of ALS, ALS gets a lot more press. I think I can say that, but they're the ones that get the press. So a lot of people don't know about SPF, but you had to go into retirement. And I think you were sort of taken out of the classroom earlier than you really wanted to be. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of teachers now are also feeling, is they've had this, the rest of their school years taken away, their shows canceled. I know when we were talking and catching up last night, like, what do you miss most about being in the classroom? And I'm sure you're going to relate with all of our teachers watching.
I know exactly what teachers are feeling like now, because I really missed the kids, the students, the whole process of putting on a show and everything. That's what I miss. I didn't miss the paperwork or anything like that.
Totally. And you have them in all walks of life. You have pastry chefs, you have execs, you have other teachers, you have people that are doing professional theater. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that I've always said 99% of us, or those, will not go on to do this professionally. Right. And that's totally fine. But it's those opportunities they get in that classroom, and they weren't called safe spaces then. They were just places you felt, no one gave a guidebook to any of you on how to deal with this. And I remember there was a time where Tim and I were painting, and I was an adult at this time, and I'd come back to do something, and we were chatting, and he said, "I don't know how it works in your world." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was, "Oh, is that offensive? I'm sorry." You got honesty. You got honesty, you got truth. Those were the days that we could totally just push, and you could push back, and there was no issue. And you go to class with a 2x4 from Tim that said, he's going to be late, it was unbelievable. Dave Hochul, somebody else who I have to give it a shout out to. And also Joe Sutton wrote some very kind words, who's the principal at Fort Zumwalt North now, Neil Berry at Fort Zumwalt West, those three men. But Dave Hochul was my high school principal who passed away from cancer a long time ago now. But I remember Dave said to me, "You've got to do this. If you have a dream in you to go to New York, you have to try it." And he'd been a wrestling coach teacher, right? It was football, but he was always at the shows. And there was this amazing, knew what I was going through, and when I was crying in his office and just I hate this, and I'm literally ready to just not exist because that's how dark it had gotten. And he said, "No, you've got to try this." And so again, I'm so thrilled to have made this journey and to be able to look back on it now and realize what all of those people did and still be able to say thank you. So that's what I'm doing tonight to the two of you. Is, I adore you. I love you. I thank you for everything. Check out SPF, everybody. Yes. And I'll see you at the cast party after. We'll call you afterwards.
Of course.
We'll see you. Tim and Tina Krogan, everybody, and to all the educators out there. Yes. Give it up for that applause. They're amazing. They're totally amazing. Truthfully, I would not be sitting here if I hadn't found theater. There were days where I didn't think I could do it anymore. I wasn't going to do it anymore, and I thought nobody would care. 2 weeks. They'll think about me for 2 weeks, and they'll move on. And it sounds stupid. There's been these, it gets better campaigns, but it does. And I'm here to tell you, there is reasons to get up in the morning. You can have, right now with what we're going through, I threw down at work, and I said, "You can have your day. You get one." Mine tends to cycle every 10 days. And I said, "It's always on a Monday." And then my boss was like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. If it's every 10 days, that can always cycle on a Monday." I'm like, "Not helping. First of all, but yes, you're right. Math was never my thing. All right." But so I tend to fall into this, I'll get up and I can just tell I'm going to have a funk. But right now we just have so much unknown and uncertainty. For A-type personalities, we're not in control of very much that's going on right now. So you just have to let go, trust, take that leap of faith, dive into a pool, hope there's water in it. And if there isn't, you might break an ankle, but you're going to move on because there's going to be another opportunity or an obstacle out there. All right. Let's get back on the path a little bit. because I'm going to get the car back on. We've been kind of on the, when you hit the side of the road, that's where we kind of are right now. So we're veering off. So I'm going to get us back on the path. Let's look at some other words that I think are thrown around an awful lot that are success and failure. And I want to look at the definitions of this because when I prepped this, these two completely, I just totally jumped Kyle. I'm sorry, Kyle. Just totally jumped in. We're going to go back and look at those. We didn't even look at the high school pictures of me. We'll come back to that because I know people are going to want to see those. So success and failure, because these are a lot of words and we give a lot of weight to words and what we think the weight of those words means, right? So success, let's look at success. The definition in the book is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Cool. All right, because for years I've heard, oh, you're so successful. What does that mean? Because I don't know what I base it on, right? Now, when I looked at failure, as God is my judge, this is the legitimate definition. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Wait, what? The lack of success? All right, let's do a couple scenarios here. So let's say that 9 to 5, you're doing 9. I'm using 9 to 5 because I just worked with them last week. Nothing against 9 to 5 and Capo. I love you guys. 9 to 5, everybody's rehearsed. The set has been built. We're ready to go into production. School gets canceled. Show doesn't happen. See ya. By definition, is that show a failure? By definition, not how I view it. Let's say you do a Shakespeare play for the first time and everybody learns their lines. It's the most collaborative. It's everybody got along. We did things we'd never done before in our program, but no one comes. By definition, is that a failure? Yeah. So I don't really give a lot of weight to those words. It's also process over product. All right, the product is we've got to put people in the seats. That's why educational theater is so important to me, is because so many times you can take crazy risks and you don't have to worry about if there are people there. You want them to come, but like in college, we could do bizarre concepts and try it and take a risk. Commercial theater, you have to be able to put butts in the seats to keep what's going on stage. All right, and if you're not paying attention to all of our friends in regional theater, everyone, my heart goes out to all of you. We're all suffering through this together. All right, it's the elephant in the room, so I have to talk about it. You can't just pretend it's not happening right now. But the process and product, they're two very different things, right? And to me, the process is so important. The product will usually get there if you have a strong process. But when I've been asked before, like, would you go back and do it all over again? Probably. I'd want to make the same mistakes because the Jason that's sitting here wouldn't be the same person if I did it differently. I had to go through those hardships to get here, right? So let's get to the stuff that everybody wants to know. How did you get from college to there? So pay it forward. Another thing that I always say, pay it forward. You never know where opportunities are to come, and you give back every chance you can. So that being said, I had done a lot of work for the Educational Theater Association. I had been a guest lecturer for them and taught master classes at the International Festival in Lincoln, all of that. And so I had been, through college, I was working every summer at Stages St. Louis, which was my professional home, and it was master's school for me. No question. I learned from all of the people there. We were doing 9 shows a week in the summer. I would drive like an hour and a half one way to get there and back. And it was amazing. It was what I did in the summers, right? So then I would go back to school, all of that. I had professors at school that kicked my butt, kept us honest. They challenged us by saying, we're going to assign you the tech positions. You're not going to get to decide. And again, the drama, you guys, it was not that deep in college. We got so upset about so many things that years later, I'm like, we were really that upset because I was going to be a master electrician on a show. And you know what? They made me be the master electrician. And then I went on to be a shop supervisor for 3 years in college. And that's how I paid for school, because those professors saw something in me and made me do it. So maybe don't always fight them. Also, if there are performers out there, and I know my performers that I'm working with currently, I won't name names, just take the note. It's very simple. Don't argue with your creative team. Just take the note. They're not coming after you personally. They're trying to help your performance. Just let it down, performers, please. All the performers that want to be performers, there you go. Subscribers drop by 20%. We're done with him. No, telling it like it is, running all over the place. So college, I get out. I do all these things with EDTA. I'm speaking across the country. I then decide, I get a phone call, literally. Tina and other teachers, Beth Fritz, Teresa Niggis, Stacy Snyder, and Amanda Stegman, along with John Smith, who had been the musical director in Christmas Carol in '91. I said, let's do a production of Nonsense. And let's put the teachers back on stage. I'll come back. I'll direct it. We'll open the season, the school year with it. Will you guys do it? And all these teachers, choir and theater said yes. And John Smith said, I'll musical direct it. And 2 of my colleagues from high school, Lori O'Leary and Casey Schiller, said, we'll produce and we'll do whatever you need us to do. So they trusted me to do this. We put this show together. It's the week before it opens, and I get a phone call out of nowhere from Troika Entertainment saying, can you be in New York to start the national tour of Throw the Modern Millie on Monday? And I said, yes, I can. And my grandma said, if I have to pay for a hotel for you to live in, I will, because this is your chance. And you have to go. Because I'd lost out on other New York opportunities because I didn't live there. And I'm a kid of a single parent, so money always has scared me. You don't get things in life just handed to you, and especially money. Money does not grow on trees. So I'm always like, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get there? My mom also never discouraged me. There would be questions like, how are you going to pay for this? But also, I don't think there was anybody that was going to really rationalize or negotiate with me. I always had to have the last word. Shocking, I know. But she wouldn't stand in my way. She would just say, how are you going to pay for it? And those kind of questions. I'm also like somebody who, since I was a child, said, I'm going to forge a path and go for it. There was never a plan B. And even when shows in New York just didn't exist or they would close, it was sort of like, what's the next step? And what am I going to find? And maybe it's creating something, right? So I toured for 3 years, bus and truck, long process on that. They're one-nighter bus and truck. So it meant you were in the town for one day. On the national tour of Millie, we did 20 shows in 17 days, 17 consecutive cities. So that means you're on the cruise on the bus every night. We drive to the next city. You do it all over again. That's one you could not pay me enough money to go do that again. But it was basically master's degree. You learned how to tour. You learned how to work with people. I was the only stage manager out there. There was no assistance. You have to make decisions in the moment. You're in that town for one night. What's best for the show? So 3 years on the road with that. I decided to then move to New York. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump. I'm going to take a leap of faith. And a friend of mine, Diane Carr at the Educational Theater Association at the time, said, I will call a friend of mine. He's a stage manager in New York. Would you like to meet him? I said, sure. So she introduced me to Brian Landrine, who was stage managing Grey Gardens at the time. I went and shadowed him. We hung out. We became social friends. There's an epic story that happened at New World Plaza that you can reach out to me privately and I'll tell you. And we had a good time and I laughed, and everybody loves to tell that story to this day. He said, randomly gets a phone call from his best friend like 2 days later. And she says, I'm looking for a production assistant on Cyrano de Bergerac. It's coming to Broadway with Kevin Kline and Jennifer Garner. Do you know anyone? He said, I just met this guy. This kid, I don't really know him. Maybe you should meet him. Mary Beth Abel takes a chance on me. She meets me at the corner of 86th and Columbus. We go to a coffee shop. We sit, we talk. I'll never forget the day as long as I live. And my whole life changed. And she took a chance on me and she hired me to be a production assistant on Cyrano de Bergerac. We connected. Third day of rehearsal, Mr. Kline comes to them and says, I'd like to have somebody to run lines with. Mary Beth says, why don't you work with Jason? So I start coming in like an hour before rehearsals to work with him, which means I'm coming in 2 hours before rehearsal because I still was a stage management PA. So I came in and I sharpened pencils, made the coffee, made sure all of my stage management stuff was done before Kevin would show up to run lines with him. So there was this juggling act of, making sure I was working for both departments. Then like 4 days into working with Kevin on lines, unbeknownst to me, he goes to the producers and Mary Beth and says, I don't want to work with anybody else. This is who I work with. So cool. I didn't know it. I was just doing my gig. I was maintaining his script. He had a couple different scripts he liked to work with. We would work through the lunch break. A couple nights a week, he'd want to keep working. When he's in a process, he commits to the process and that's it. There's no going back. I've been super blessed. Laurie Metcalf, Jeff Daniels, same thing. They all have Midwestern backgrounds, which is the same thing with me. And there's a work ethic that comes out of the Midwest. They may not believe in coronavirus, but they have a work ethic. There, I said it. There you go. But coronavirus is happening. But there's a work ethic. All right. So we all have this work ethic. And those are the stars that they're not celebrities and they're not these like reality TV stars that we have now. And look, I'm here for Erica Jane. I saw her in Chicago and she was amazing. But there's just a different quality of these people that came from the world of theater in our world. Right. So long story short, we do Cyrano. Kevin is a class act. I'm living it up. And also too, like, who cared that I was working like 15, 16-hour days every day? It was to watch Kevin Kline in his process and be a part of this process, right? So Mary Beth then goes on that spring to get hired as the production stage manager on Wicked. And she said, hang tight, I'm going to bring you over to Wicked. And I was like, okay. And by that April, I was working at Wicked. And I also did the short-lived Glory Days that opened and closed on the same night. So I wasn't like this normal. I came into New York and did 4 Broadway shows in my first year. That's not me like, oh, congratulations. But also I had a friend who said, you also did 3.5 years of one-nighter bus and truck. So you came in with a resume. It wasn't like you just showed up in New York with, hey, it's just me. Nobody's heard of me. And then every opportunity I got, I would take. A lot of them were not paid. Who are you in the room with? Who are you getting to know? And who are you trying to show off for? And get yourself. And I'm able to say that this age group right now, you've got to be careful. I used to say it was the age of entitlement. Now it's this idea of, I want to know how I can be the executive of the company tomorrow. and I want to know what the exact path is to get there. And I can't look at the job that I've been assigned because I'm looking at where I'm going or where I want to go. Now, you got to have your own drive, no question. If you don't have a personal drive, that's a problem. But you can't not focus on this because you want to be here. And there's going to be, and you can't ask me. That's the number one question I get asked a lot is, how do I do what you did? I don't know. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow. So there's this idea that the unknown is staring me in the face again, and I just have to reinvent and dive into working with good people. I surround myself with people that are more talented than me. That's the big secret. You want to know? You surround yourself with people that are more talented than you, and you can rise to the top. Every show I do, I'm like, this is the one they're going to figure out. I'm Harold Hill from The Music Man, and I'm a huge fake. It's been the Think system for 39 years. So I do Cyrano. Kevin's amazing. We have an amazing working relationship. I always say it's called show business, not show friendship. Think about that one. The friendships will come out of the business side of it. There are people that will say, I will not sit down and have a meal or a drink with Jason Daunter, but I respect him. And I'll take that. We all don't have to get along. You can work together and not have to, get along and be respectful of each other and work on stage. That's just human nature. If we could break some of that down too, we'd solve all the world's problems. All of the world's problems. Just by understanding, like being able to understand that which we can't understand, or having some sort of open acceptance to things we don't understand. So, because I don't want to keep you guys here all night, let's fast forward a little through the New York years. So I end up on Wicked. Wicked is 6 years of my life. Again, master's class. And what I'm learning with people, talking to people. Any of you that want to go into stage management, I'm going to tell you it's 99% people and personalities. People and personalities. That's the thing. You can learn how to call a show. You can learn how to write a call book. You can do all that, but people and personalities. So if you're still in college, tap into philosophy, psychology, all of those things, and no one's great at it. The reason I love being a stage manager is because I get to bring myself to the table. All right. And we can all do things a little differently. We get to work in the gray. There are some rules, of course, if you're union, and we get to be with everybody. We also have to deal with everybody. From the ushers to the orchestra, people said, you've never performed, Jason. I'm like, come to me with an issue I don't care about, and I give a Meryl Streep performance. No, your toilet's backed up again? I would love to get that plunger and go fix it. Absolutely. I was waiting here for you to come ask that question. It's definitely yes and for the improvers out there. It has to be. I also pride myself on trying not to have a bad day at work. So where that suffers is in my personal life. My friends and family, they get it taken out on them because of the career I've chosen. My Mondays are usually sacred because for 13 years, I basically had Mondays off. That's it, because you're doing 8 shows a week. So Mondays, you would want to watch Law & Order SVU. I know there are fans out there of that show. Come on, Mariska's our girl. And Abby Lee Miller dance. Yeah, no question. I wanted to see more drama than I had in my own life on stage 8 shows a week. So, New York, I'm not gonna harbor on the New York credits because they weren't even that big of a part of what made me who I was. The one thing I'll start as I start to wrap up, because I want to talk to some of these students that we have that are asking the questions you all have. The one thing I have done that some people would say running away is I've known when to walk away. With Wicked, I knew it was time to go. I never wanted to stay too long at the fair. I don't even know if it's a quote. Is that from a musical? I've used that line for years. Like, I didn't want to stay too long at the fair. I don't know what that means. Like, the fair was closing. I don't know what that means. But I didn't want to stay too long and expire or like get into a bad headspace that it suddenly became a job. If you just heard that noise, this little speaker went off and everybody here in Studio 2 is like, we didn't touch anything because they think I'm going to go on a tirade after the show. But no, it just made a noise. That's good. But no, the thing is that I didn't want to be that person that suddenly didn't like what I do. I was told a long time ago, I was talking to my brother and I said, this is like probably 10 years ago. And I said, look, you've got the family, you've got the kid, you've got the house. You've got what's considered a normal life. Again, what does normal mean? First of all, everybody's calling this the new normal. But what does normal mean? To me, that's what the normal life was. And he said, you know what you want to do every day when you get up. And I thought about it, and he wasn't wrong. Even on the darkest days, like I'm that kid that the overture can start. I'm fortunate enough now to work for Disney. And people said, why are you moving your life across the country for Disney? I said, why not? Do you realize the toys they have to play with there? And like, you literally see the instant gratification on people's faces from this experience they're getting to have. You can see it. We can make magic in a moment that sometimes gets lost. Walking out of the stage door in Boston in Wicked, I'll never forget the moment. It had been a particularly hard day. Was turning over probably about 19 people in the show, rehearsals every day, and you just sort of lose sight of what you're doing. It becomes a machine. And this girl with Down syndrome, I will never forget it as long as I live, said, "I'm different like Elphaba, and that's okay." So I fought for years saying, like, we aren't curing cancer. And my new boss, I'm going to say his name, this will get him, David Hansen, thank you very much, said, but we are providing entertainment, and we are doing things that are just as important. And it's true. And I think that's why my heart hurts so bad right now, is that we're needed in times like this. The entertainment community is needed during this. So we have to figure out ways to do it, because we're going to do it now. We're going to keep ourselves together, and then we're going to come back even bigger than what we did before and be live and in your face again. So Projects with Jason was created. And that's what we're doing right now, is we're giving an outlet to the world. And if I wish another thing on all of you, is that the reason I consider myself a success now is because I can pick up the phone and I have friends that will answer that phone call. Not just to take the phone call to say, how are you? Because they're there too. Don't get me wrong. But they will say, where are you? What do you want to do? And what are we doing? What are we doing? And when do I need to be there? And they go at their own expense. They put it on their own time. They sometimes sacrifice their own families over the good of the project and the mission. And they know that we believe in it. And there are people that aren't even on these projects right now that are saying, how do I get involved? So I wish that for everyone. And if you're listening to me now by yourself and you think there's nobody out there, there is. You may not know them yet, and they may not be in your life yet, but they're out there. And you will find them, and you will be as big of a part of their life as they are of yours. And that's the most important thing, I think. So we're getting ready. Kim, we're getting ready. I'm moving to the kids. So the segue to this is I do have to say thank you to so many people. You'll see the credits at the end where I really shout out to a lot of people that I couldn't name by name tonight who made me who I am. But right now, the immediate group is the group that's working on Project with Jason. We've got them in Anaheim Hills with the Coles. We've got them up in Oregon with Jeff Hall. We've got the whole team. You'll see all their names because I don't want to screw anybody's names up. I've got Matt and Caroline here in the studio here. Caroline and Belize are two students in high school, and they work on these. Caroline is the content stage manager and learning all this equipment, just as long as Belize does all of our graphic work. So we are always about putting high school talent. Zach Brunkhurst is out there. I know he's watching, and he's now going into stage management because he carried my clothes 5 years ago in Missouri, and like this whole like Jason Daunter thing and who he was, and these kids that get up and they want to be me. I don't understand that. Be yourself. I'm just glad that I can still have a voice and a platform to get to you and tell you you aren't alone. And some of those people that will show up in your life, you don't know they're going to show up, I just mentioned. And so I want to leave you before I start doing some questions with what came to me like an hour before the show tonight. And it was a random text from a new friend, not a random text. That sounds bad. It was a random text. No, they had thought about this text and sent it. But it's a new friend in my life who, again, this thought of education. It's in the classroom, but it's also in person. And it's just when you see somebody hurting, you reach out or you just don't know, and we can learn from each other. But it's that I understand, I was talking about tonight, you are not the same person you were in high school. The words were spoken to you in the past have no strength over you now. You're strong, you're successful, you're talented, you're loved, and you haven't even peaked yet. And there were some words that were used that I don't even like successful. But that person needs to know that they were there in the right moment for someone. And just if you think you should engage right now and talk to somebody, you probably should. I think we're connecting on whole new levels because of this. And I really hope we hang on to this when we come out of it, because it's process over product. And this process right now is bringing us back together as a country and hopefully a world, because that's the only way we're going to clean this mess up. The only way. All right. So thanks for letting me ramble on. Also, I want to do a shout out to mental health. It took me a long time to think that Tom Viola, who's a dear friend, Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, Joe Benacasa and the Actors Fund and all the amazing work they're doing for the entertainment community, and Seth Rudetsky, if you've not checked out what he is doing, he and James Wellesley, his partner, are doing 2 shows a day. I don't know how they're doing it because 3 shows this week is about to kill all of us. We ain't going to be speaking by Sunday. Not true. We all collaborate. We stay together. But they are doing it because there's a need, and all the stars are coming out to help and just bring us together as a community. So it's that big group, but all the amazing work. Tom Viola has always said we are the last people to ask for help sometimes. And I was that person. And in my darkest, I didn't think I needed people to talk to. And I've needed somebody to talk to, and I've done it. And I've really been able to deal with it. I'm Jason Daunter. I'm not Wicked's Jason Daunter. I'm not Broadway's Jason Daunter. I'm not gay Jason Daunter. I'm Jason Daunter. That's it. And it's not that deep. Let's be clear. LBC, we're starting to trend that too. Let's be clear and work. Kim, give me a kid before I continue rambling on. Let's talk to some of these people. I'm going to keep the answers brief, I promise. Who we got? We got nobody because they all went home.
Oh, it's me.
Oh, you didn't get your surprise.
Hi.
Ashley, sorry, Ashley, I'm going to cut you off. I know it's supposed to be your time. But Ashley is one of the graphic designers that did the amazing poster for tonight and put up with me and my back and forth and how I wanted it to look and all of that. And so you were amazing. Congratulations. Hit me. What you got?
I just want to say on behalf of the Student Thespian Board, thank you so much for doing this. This is such a great opportunity considering we missed you at festival. And I just have so much respect for all the projects you're putting forward for all of the other high school thespians with your cabarets and the Shakespeare things. I'm looking forward to all of them. And we're so grateful for everything you've been doing.
Thank you.
My first question, because I want to represent all of the thespians who can't talk to you right now. As a male stage manager, did you ever find yourself feeling discriminated against, considering stage management is more predominantly female these days?
It's only going more female nowadays because you all are taking it there. And we talk about it at my age that we're surprised by it going female. Look, it's funny you say that because Mary Beth Abel, Lisa Dawn Cave, those are two females that have led the charge. And stay tuned because we're getting panels together. We've got some really exciting things coming up for all of you technicians out there and directors, choreographers, because we do not forget about you. Our executive producer, Matt Conover, is always about the offstage parties, and it takes all of us to do it. So yes, we've got some amazing people lined up. I don't want to say too much right now about the names and people that are coming to talk to us and tell their stories, but no, I really didn't. I think I'm going to kind of turn it. It was more about just, I didn't know who I was. So I was very just sort of, indiscriminate, but no, I don't think I had any issue with that. It's an interesting question, but no, I do see it going much more female nowadays, which I love because they absolutely, and there are certain shows that I think are right for females. Wicked. I did the best I could for, all those years, but it's a female driven show. I think we see the same thing with directors sometimes. These female driven shows should be female directed. Those kind of things. So Meryl Streep is always about that and advocating for that. Are you a stage manager? Because somebody said something about speaking of stage manager. Are you a stage manager?
Yes, I am.
Word! Yes! All right, so we'll continue those conversations. Also, I want to say, too, if you've got any questions, you can always find me. It may take me a bit to get back to you, but I will reach out. I will answer. Capistrano, I know you guys are on spring break this week, but I know I owe you 56 questions. And teachers out there, we have friends. I have people ready to do Zoom classes with you. So let us know because we've got people across the country wanting to talk to your classes, and now's the time. So what was your second question?
My second question, hearing about your stint with Thoroughly Modern Millie, I want to know more about that.
One-nighters? Yeah. That could be a whole, we should set up, why don't you set up with your school? You set up that I can come talk to you and I'll give you more details. Or if we have enough people say they want to do something like this again, I'll do just a Q&A session that we can do down the road tonight. But it was amazing. With Millie, it was there were 24 in the cast and all 24 of them, there were no swings. So there was no covers off stage. Everybody pretty much touched scenery at some point in the show. So when somebody called out, you were already down a person. So it was this juggling game of learning how to do things. And I remember instincts. I want to talk about instincts and how I didn't trust my instincts a lot of times. But I remember sitting in my first production meeting with that show. And because I was hired the Thursday before rehearsal started, there's still to this day paperwork that wasn't done. People get the colleges, which I love, but they get so up about the paperwork. And you got to do the paperwork and this. And what does your font look like? Nobody cares what your font looks like in the real world. That producer is going to tell you what your paperwork's going to look like. So focus more on the human nature of things and how do you get through it. There was a class called the Art of Cue Calling in some colleges. What is it go or is it go? What are you kidding? So I remember sitting in a production meeting with Millie and, Ching Ho and Bun Fu are all subtitled. The Mandarin is subtitled in the show and you have to have its major joke. And we had an LED screen that was going to fly in and out. And I remember asking in a production meeting, what do we do when the LED screen crashes? That will never happen was the answer. Now I'm the new guy of the rodeo here, and I'm thinking, this doesn't sit right with me. Third city out. Guess what? Chris Herman, I'm sure you're watching, but it's orange screen of death. Like literally, just all the LEDs were working. They were just all turned on. And he's like, "Oh, we got a problem." And so then the prop girl, Paige, I'm giving shout outs to everybody tonight. Paige and I are handwriting foam core poster boards to have one of the onstage swings stand and be like Meryl Carroll. Google her if you don't know what that means, and pull, the signs, because other than me being on a God mic, this is storytelling, that didn't happen. So now, if this was me now in a production meeting, I would push for an answer. And if I wasn't getting that answer, I'd go to somebody else and continue to push for that answer. So do it. You've got to be working. Community theater, whatever it is, these kind of things at your church, wherever you can start managing events and put yourself in that position. And it's not about being in charge. There are people that say a tie asserts authority, yelling asserts authority. It doesn't. I come into the room and I see what the room needs, and then I try to chameleon myself to it. That doesn't mean that I'm not myself. I really don't have to be alpha. You may not want to buy that. But if you're working with Jerry Zaks on Meteor Shower and you've got Amy Schumer, Steve Martin, and Jerry Zaks in the room, like Jerry's going to get the laugh. You've got very funny people in that room, and you take it in. You also don't look at them any differently. And I'll get Kevin to tell this story on Saturday. There's the plug. Kevin Klein's here with us on Saturday. Make sure you're back. It's going to be everything. But I remember, I hadn't known a lot of his movies. I knew who he was. I knew we were both from St. Louis. But he was like, you treat everyone like they're nobody. I was like, thank you. So it's the idea that they all put their pants on the same way we do. And the real ones don't want to be doted over. Yes, performers are on that stage. Yes, they're the ones out in front of 1,800 people. And 9 times out of 10 technicians hear me. They just want an answer when they come off. That's it. They just want to know what's going on. So these wars between, like Jets and Sharks backstage, between the crew and the cast, cut it out. We're all there to do it together. They're the ones out there on that stage. Now, that does not make the behavior correct at all. And you will also find you can save yourself a lot of time if you can just know that everybody's behavior comes from a place of insecurity. We're all insecure. All of us. And if somebody's sitting out there saying they're not, then they're lying. So Ashley, I'm going to be a 2-hour show if I don't move on. I got to give time to other people. I got to keep myself. But thank you for your work on this. Do reach out to me. Thank you for all you. I think you're a state Thespian officer for California. So thank you for your work. Are you a senior?
Yes.
Honey, we are sending you so much love.
Thank you.
You're fine. You're gonna. I promise you, you're gonna look back on this time. And I don't want to negate the high school experience at all, but you're gonna look back on this time and you're gonna have a story to tell forever. And if there was ever a chapter that had an empty page on it in your book, you're looking at it. So you can define what this next chapter is going to look like. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Take care. Give me another one, Caroline. Is it Caroline or Kim? I don't even know who's running this show. I think it's Caroline. Caroline, are you doing it, Caroline? Hi.
Hi.
You're Allison from Tri-School Theater, Rosary Academy Troop 4566.
Yes.
What are your questions? Hit me.
Okay, so my first question is, you always hear stories about people saying that the business is small and everybody knows everyone. So I was wondering if you had a specific story where you realized that this was true,
The first one that comes to mind is when I was seated, when I began to work for the Educational Theater Association board, and Matt Conover and I met, and I had heard about who he was. I knew he was a big deal with Disney, and we knew each other. And then he says to me, do you know Tom Widman? And Tom Widman was my production supervisor at the time on Wicked. And I said, yeah. And he goes, he was one of my roommates in college. So right there, it's everyone knows everyone. All right. And it's those, the woman, this is another one. There was a woman in New York that I remember, she actually, years later, I found out that she was one of the founding members of Broadway Cares. And I just knew her as this nice lady that would come and collect the money at the flea market from the Wicked booth. And she was so nice to me, right? So see her every year for 3 years. I'm always nice to her. I always say hello. Cut to I'm going to a job interview. And I walk into this big general management office in New York. And who's there? This nice lady from, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing here? She was the assistant general manager. She not only I thought she volunteered for Broadway Cares. Oh no, she started the organization. And she was the one that thought of me for the job. Literally, I jaw was on the ground and I was like, oh dear God, thank the Lord I was nice to her. And you have to. You just never know who that person's going to be. People that are auditioning, it's that person standing outside the door. I'm telling you, there's a system in place. They got a code. It's a dot. It's a this. It's a something. There's going to be, you want to work with people. I will always take an attitude over talent. You can get both and you can do both, but I want to see a work ethic. I want to see people that want to show up and be there. And it's every day. It's you never burn a bridge. You know, if you walk away, you never burn that bridge, because the people you see on the way up are the exact same people you're going to see on the way down. What's your other one? You got two. Are we doing 2 with everybody? Okay, fire off.
Okay. So you also always hear stories of people saying like, this person specifically was so great to work with. Do you have like, what makes somebody great to work with?
I'll use, I mean, these are again, just my opinions, but when Cheetah Rivera walks into a room, she says good morning to every single person on the production. Good morning to every single person in that room. There are some stars out there that only talk to their people, or until they, like, it's happened to me on a number of occasions where I was just the guy in the corner and then suddenly somebody says, oh, well, he worked with Wicked, or he knows Jeff Daniels. And and then you see it. I'm done by that point. You know, when they have assistants, the assistant is usually the first person I go and introduce myself to, because that's the person that's doing some of the business, and they're just as much a part of that personality as the personality. It doesn't negate any of it, but it's everyone is important to that process, and they know it, right? So with her, I mean, it's she comes in and says hello to everybody, and she knows that. I was using that reference with Capo that I remember standing on stage at a preview for 9 to 5, and Dolly Parton walked across because she was there, and we were with our friends, and I remember I shouted out to her like, congratulations on the show. And she said, it's not my show. It's everybody's show. Everybody's hard work. And it was like, she's Dolly Parton and she's a big persona, but it's that, Klein would say when he went in stage door, he was like, and we started handing out like pre-signed programs. And I remember one night he was like, just be sure that we're never rude. We're never rude to people. I don't want people thinking Kevin Klein has people that are rude working for him. Because they remember what it's like. And that's why right now, too, I think we see so many people signing up to do things. I also, too, there's going to be reputations about everybody in this business. Mm-hmm. There's always reputations. And I hear it, I file it back here, and I'm like, let's see what my relationship is with them. So I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to put it back here just in case. And I can be like, you know what, you were right. But I'm going to try and find my way through to that person. Right? So there's something to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Are you a senior, too?
I am a senior.
We're gonna have a virtual. Somebody write this down. Project Education is gonna have some sort of virtual commencement. I don't know what that means. Kim is just throwing herself across the room in Anaheim Hills right now. She's like, no, not another one. We're gonna do some sort of virtual commencement for all you seniors and celebrate you. It might just be saying stand up at home and sit down, but we're gonna do it. So you look for that date. Be good. Give me another one.
Hi.
I know who you are. I remember you from rehearsal last night. You're the other half of the poster. Yes. We got to collaborate on it. And that's the thing, is that I don't treat this age group any differently than I do anyone else. For good, bad, or indifferent, I'm just as demanding on Caroline and Belize and you guys as I am any professional crew that I work with. And what I find is you all rise to the challenge. And I'm not easy to work with, because my eye is on 8 things. I can't just sit here and be a host like Rosie O'Donnell is, who I love. Don't get me started. She saved my life too, because I'm looking at things that directorially I want, and I'm taking my own camera shot every once in a while. So it's a lot to have to work with me, and they all rise to the challenge, and you were one of those people. Give me your question.
Okay, so my first question actually ties back to what you were just talking about with the commencement, but in this time period of being stuck at home because of the quarantine and Miss Rona, a lot of seniors are worried about starting college next year, because this transition period is one of the biggest ones you go through in your life. And then also the juniors are worried because they're trying to figure out how they're going to start into their senior year, especially those of us that do want to go into this industry for our college careers. Like, how does that balance work out? So I was wondering if you had any advice for us.
You guys, I'm gonna, like, if we could zoom in and I could tell Caroline to do a Tom Hooper close up, we'd come in on my gray hair and my gray hair on top and all this, and let it go. Another Frozen song. Look at me, just the Frozen references tonight. Don't, and I can say it. This is the thing, is I can do these things and preach a lot of message and give a sermon and listen to this, and then 10 minutes after I sign off, I'm having a meltdown, over the same thing. But don't worry. We don't know what the other side is going to look like right now. I could sometimes tell you if I knew. We don't know. We're going to be reinventing. We're going to be redeveloping. We're going to be rethinking. So don't stress about it right now. Get through the now. Finish out the school year. salvage the relationships where you can, think of new ways to connect, think of new ways to get strong, right? And then we'll move into the next phase. You're going to still go to college. There's also this there's no path to Broadway. Yes, there are certain schools out there that have great performance programs that feed you into it, but you've got to have the passion and the talent to start with. Northwest Missouri State is not a school that like a lot of people know, but it was the perfect school for me. It was what I needed. And also, it wasn't like these 3 months over the summer. Like if you would have gone to school through May and then you would do 3 months if you went to college, like in those like 8 weeks that you're not going to do, you were suddenly a different person. I'm here to tell you 25, 26, you're going to go through another big life change, and like 34, 35. Those are going to be the big life changes. I know that right now it's such a crucial time in your life. I get it. But some of this pressure that you have on you right now is going to ease up later in life. And I hope some of the adults and teachers are shaking their heads, because I know we all don't know where our next paycheck's coming from or how we're paying the rent. So I understand what we're also going through, but I have to believe that if you're, I don't think I said it yet tonight, but if you wake up in the morning and you think of something else you want to do besides theater, that's what you're meant to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we need doctors and we need lawyers and we need producers and we need all of those things. We need teachers, so you can have that drive and you can be a theater supporter, because trust me, we're going to have to go back to the theater to keep the theater alive. So please, if I can, it's not really answering your question, but you just cut out the worrying. Don't do it. Or give yourself a day. I'm telling everybody, just give yourself a day. You can have your day and then move on from the day. And what do you need? I personally like Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody, the live version. YouTube it. Let's see how many hits that gets tonight. She performed like at Decca's like big anniversary party. It's everything. It is everything. It's got a great groove. I like to just sing it out. Being out here in California, one of the things I've loved is that I drive to work. When I was going to work, that I drive to work and I would sing my face off. Next to Normal, another great soundtrack. Once on This Island, great. Get it out. Music really does set my mood for the day and can help me. And stay off the news. Look at it every once in a while, but don't get too far ahead of yourself. Stay in the moment. You guys have to get to graduation still, and you got to do it virtually. So get to graduation, figure out what it looks like. We'll then figure out the fall. Then we'll go from September to October. And then before we know it, we're gonna be, I hope we do come back with some changes. We could be more kind. If we come out of this, I hope we're gonna be more kind to each other. Okay, give me number 2.
Okay, my second question has to deal with something you talked about earlier, where you said this is called show business, not show friendship, and how the friendship will develop through the business. Once you have developed that friendship, how do you balance the business and the friendship when you're working with someone?
That's a great question too, especially if you're a manager, like as being a stage manager. And when I was on like the bus and truck tour, even like the Wickeds of the world, I can separate. I'm fine to go out and like have a drink with you after the show or hang out and then come in the next day and give you notes. If you can't separate that relationship, then I have to pull back and remove myself, and I'll do it. And there were a lot of, lonely nights in a hotel room, in the middle of Opelika, Alabama, just because I didn't really have a lot of people I could talk to. But it's also on us too that we can't run our mouths. That's the other thing I'm going to say. We come for each other entirely too much in this industry, and I'm just as guilty. We look for the weak link in the circle. We look for that person that's the weak link, and if you can get the laugh, you're going to go after that person. It's not right. And by diminishing somebody else's flame, you do not make yours any brighter. So there's room for all of us in this vein. That's why I think anybody that wants to live stream, absolutely. I got friends at work that are doing it, and I am like, what do you want to know? The team has been like, what paperwork do you want? How can we help? Go, 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 do. We nurture, encourage, make that garden grow. So you have to kind of separate it. And then also too, the other thing I do know that I'm good at is I keep myself in people's lives. That I will keep up with them after a show closes, because you're here for a minute, and those are your real friends in life. When you can pick up the phone and you haven't talked in 5 or 6 months, and it's like no time has passed, because I'm telling you, New York is just this bustle, go, go, go. And my heart is with them right now because they are going through it. And there's so many people there, and there are so many people alone in their apartments right now, but it's so hard to connect, because you say, let's get coffee. And then it's 6 months later, because all it was for so many years was 8 shows a week. That's it. It was rehearsal, and it was great. And I will say the grass is not always greener. So to have come out here to have this life, it was a life decision to say, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to tap into this work-life balance thing that I've heard so much about, and 2 consecutive days off. What? A lot of consecutive days off coming up, but that's all right. We will be back. But no, you can do it. You can totally balance. And I think at this age group, it is hard. No question. Because you're their peers. But again, I'm going to tell you, don't be, and you're going to do it because I did it. You're going to be the shouting stage manager. You're going to be this stage manager. You're going to be that. And you're going to do it at some point, run your mouth about somebody. It's going to go through the whole company. We all make our mistakes, or send an email with somebody on it that you didn't want on it. That happened too. I'll tell you that story later. But yeah, you can. It's just bad. And also knowing that like I may not like people and people may not like me, and that's okay. Yeah, you can say it, but it still hurts. But there are going to be people that just don't like you, and that's okay. They're going through their own journey. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you bullies don't exist. I could sit here and name 5 of them right now. And guess what? We have them on the show tonight. No, we don't. What's the question? Could you imagine? That would be a great show. Jason Daunter, this is your bullied life. Bring them on.
Oh my God.
All right, Beth, come on. All right, next one.
Thank you.
That was it. Thank you, honey. We got one more. What do we got? 4 or 5? One more. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Again, they're coming for us earlier about how the male's not representing them. We got 3 ladies in the days.
Oh,
All the men in California and the nation tonight, Louis.
That's right. That's right.
What do you got are you a senior too?
I am a senior. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, Kim, I'm sorry. We're definitely doing it
We
now.
gotta do it. We
Everybody
gotta do
stand
it.
up and sit down, but we're doing a virtual commencement. I'll find some speaker and we'll do it. What's your question?
So you said a little earlier about how you started working at Disney. I wanted to know what you do there and what your experience has been like.
Oh dear God, I can't talk about these kind of things. I'm new there, and I want to keep the job when we go back to work. Let's be clear. No, I have it. I have to write it down because I work for Disney Parks Live Entertainment. I am on the California Adventure side. I'm over at DCA with the gang. Shout out to them. And when I tell you that you get a read on people, I got the good fortune to come out here 2 years ago and temporarily fill in at the Hyperion on Frozen because they were needing some help. And I came out when I was between gigs, and the first thing I took to was the people and the people that work in that department. And it was just, again, people are like opportunities. Talk about it. I had an obstacle in my life at the time this opportunity was presented itself. I wanted to do it. I loved the brand. I've been a huge fan of the brand for so many years, and like nobody does it better. And, you know, I'd gotten to come here a number of times, and like I would always just assume somebody had cued Mickey to come marching down Main Street when I walked into the park, because that's how I thought of myself in those days. But it was just they VIP, I can say we because I work for them. We VIP everyone. You know, there's no special things like just because it's just a brand that exists, and it's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of it, but it was the people. It was the people. And then I wanted to come back this time and we started talking about why would you want to do this and why are you leaving, you know, New York? And I wanted this change, and I wanted to learn different management styles. Truly, and be able to observe. My major mentors in my life now are people that may not even know they're mentors. It's how do they communicate that thing, and how do I communicate it? Not that one way is right and one way is wrong. There's just a different way to say it, and maybe start it this way as opposed to that way, right? And this whole idea of tying into like 2 days off, knowing that I have not been able to be my true self in a couple of years. And he's come back. Good, bad, indifferent, ugly, whatever. He's back. So we need to put Genie back in the bottle. We better work on that all together. Oh, come on, Daisy Duck. Don't be throwing with my girl. They knew that one was going to get me jimmied up. She's the unsung hero of Disney, and that's all I'm going to say. Hashtag Justice for Daisy.
I'm with you.
Now I'm definitely going to get a phone call in a minute. But no, I'm on the entertainment team, shows and atmosphere over at California Adventure. And we do everything from Frozen to Worlds of Color to Five and Dime, my favorite show ever, to all of the new entertainment that's coming in the later this summer, all of it. So we're doing a lot. And what I think is crazy there's so much going on that we pass as ships in the night. You've got your project and you're this, and they are so helpful. And there would be other companies you go to work for and you get brought in from the outside and you'd be like, I don't know how to do payroll. And what does this mean? And they love an acronym. And I don't know what that acronym means. And like, how do I get to the break room? And it was there the last time I was here, and they all help you. And they don't laugh at you and make fun of you. And they say, you know, I know it's my day off tomorrow, but if you need me at 6 a.m., I'm going to be there for you. And I'm able to ask for help, which is great. And we've really grown during this time, because you go to work for a company like that because there's longevity and there's support. And I think we learn from each other. And that's what I'm so open to right now, is that we're able to learn from each other. Totally.
I cannot wait to see what you guys cook up with Avengers Campus.
Just wait. I don't know anything, truthfully. I just do what they tell me, but it's no joke. They're going to be back. We're going to be back, bigger than ever. And, you know, maybe Daisy will be starring in something.
Yes.
I don't know that, but I'd love that to happen. Double D. Okay, you got another one?
Yes. So in your introduction, it was said that you've worked with Meryl Streep. I want to know about her. I think the people on the stream want to know about her. Do you have any fun stories about Meryl?
I did one benefit with her.
Okay.
And I can tell you she's as real as you want her to be. Kevin was doing a benefit for the acting company, which come back on Saturday. John Houseman started the acting company a million years ago, and gave all of them their equity card the first year. And then Kevin Kline gave me my equity card. He paid for mine and he said, you will do the same someday for someone else. And that was the tradition. John Houseman got them all their equity card, put them on the road. Lapone was in it with him. And he and Meryl became very close. So they had been trying to do this Shakespeare night together, the two of them, and their schedules didn't line up. And so I was over at Wicked and I just happened to call him and said, hey, do you want me for the benefit? And he was like, yeah, totally. He was like, can you come over tomorrow? And I was like, I have a matinee. And I was like, I'll come over the evening show. So I went to his house and they were getting together to run it. So I'm waiting in his lobby for him to come in. And I'd been over there a number of times before and they come walking in. And I remember, as God is my judge, I curtsied. I pulled through the left leg behind me and I bowed to her like she was the queen, as you do.
Yeah, you have to.
It's so nice to meet you. And so we go upstairs and I'm thinking I'm just going to be like what I usually am for him, like the Cyrano process, which run lines, hold Ricola, like just be that kind of thing. And so she comes over to me and they decided in the afternoon session they were going to sing. They were going to put in songs from Kiss Me Kate that next day. And they got a pianist and the pianist came over and he was amazing. And so she comes over to me and she's like, did Kevin tell you we're planning to sing? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, could I run my song for you and you tell me what you think? Oh. And I was like, Gaze and Chelsea, eat your heart. I was like, game on. And it became about, Kevin had told me back in the Cyrano process, he said, if I ever ask for your opinion, I want it. But, don't tell me if somebody's bad on the stage. Don't tell me about a review you read. Because I'm going to get crazier as the process goes on. And now I know exactly what he's talking about. We do not set people up to succeed in life, and especially not in this business. So just don't think by telling someone what's expected of them, that's a bad thing. You're actually setting them up to succeed. And that's what I do a lot now. When I have PAs, when I have assistants, I'm like, this is how I get as we get closer to the show. I understand I'm trying and I'm working on it, but there's a little bit of this is who I am. So you need to know that when I shut down, it has nothing to do with everybody around me. It has to do with me. And I'm probably internalizing something of my own. And you can totally come in and say, are you in a bad mood? And I will tell you, we will own up to it, right? But she was delightful. And the one thing I said to her that next morning, then we walk in and now I'm directing the thing. We walk in and Kevin says to this team, he's like, Jason's directing. And, again, what do you hold on to? I have this video clip that if it ever went missing, that literally they're in rehearsal and she looked down at one point. She's like, does that work? And she's talking to me and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm now a Shakespearean authority. But again, it doesn't matter who they are. If they're asking for your opinion, you're a collaborator, you're going to jump in, right? And so that morning I said, it was a Monday. I was pressing my shirt for the day. And in those days I talked to my grandmother every Monday and we caught up. Tell her I love her and Julie and Julia. I was like, yep, grandma, right on top of my list. No worries. So later that day we had a break or whatever. And I went to find them and I said, I have to tell you, you're one of my grandma's favorite as mine. And she goes, okay, well, great. And I said, if we can get a picture, I said, I have to do it for grandma. And she goes, okay, totally. Show goes great. There's a whole thing. We lost Kevin's phone at one point, neither here nor there. We found it. Show's over. They have to go to this reception thing. I stay a little bit longer and then she's leaving. And I said, thank you. I'm walking to the elevator. They're getting her out. Elevator door's closing. She's wait. She puts her hand through and she says, we didn't take your picture for grandma. And she gets off. She comes over. We were digital cameras. I handed it to this waitress and I was like, lady, you got one shot. This is one shot of this photo. And she goes, get your picture for grandma, baby. And she wrapped me like we're at the senior prom. And I got it. And it's this epic photo. And I mean, that was the one encounter we've had. I've seen her one other time and I went up and reminded her of that. And, she's a pro. The pros are the ones that they understand what the process is. When you're making decisions that are for the best of the show, those are the people you want that are just as committed. Because when they run that fast, we're all going to run right with them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Y'all, we went longer than I thought I was going to go tonight. I didn't know we were going to go this long, but thanks for hanging in there. The numbers have been strong. We were mighty. Keep the comments coming. You can find us at the rest of the week. Tomorrow night, we've got virtual cabaret with Fullerton Union. I'm saying that right? Fullerton Union High School. These kids are amazing. We rehearsed earlier today. Saturday, we launch our new project called Artists in Conversation. Kevin Kline, students, Shakespeare, and a whole lot of Kevin. We've got some great guests we're about to announce next week. They may have been green and in a pink dress at one point. I'm just going to throw that out there if anybody knows what that is. We're also celebrating performers from California right now, but we're opening it up. You can find us at projectswithjason.com. or email at info@projectwithjason.com. Final thing I want to leave you is when I got inducted into the High School Hall of Fame for Fort Zumwalt North High, they reached out to me and they said, we want to induct you into the Hall of Fame and you'll ride in the homecoming parade. And these are selling points. I was like, I'm good. I was like, thanks. You can just mail it. And the theater department kids reached out and they said, will you please consider coming home to do this? We've never done anybody from the arts and it's a big deal. And I did it for them, right? But I didn't really want to walk back into high school. I was not interested in walking back into high school. So we're at the reception afterwards. I do it. I rode in the homecoming parade. I did hit one kid in the head with a sucker, but you gave me like candy to throw from a moving car. It was not a smart move. He was fine. So I get tapped on the shoulder afterwards and I turn around. There's this guy standing there and he says, do you remember me? And I knew exactly who he was, but I'm not going to let on in that moment. And I said, no, I don't. And he said who he was. And I said, oh, I said, yeah, okay. And he goes, we always knew you'd do this. And I was like, what? And he's like, we always knew you'd go on to do whatever dream you wanted and you were going to achieve whatever you set out to do. And he goes, we're all just so proud of you. And I said, thanks. And I said, is this your family? And we started to talk. What I wanted to say was, you know what? Congratulations to you, sir. You finally matured to the age I was at 17. It just took you 22 more years to get there, ass. But I didn't. But you can think it. Please remember, you can do anything you want to do in this life as long as you put your heart and you want to work hard enough for it. Be kind to each other. Say thank you to someone. Let the words thank you mean something. And to all those first responders out there who are putting their lives before your family and your own, we're going to get through this, y'all. It's not rehearsed. It's true. Just be kind to somebody and dare to dream. That's it. I'm out. See you guys. Hang on for the credits because there's a lot of people you need to see that I love.
Spark of creation, may it burn forever. The spark of creation, I am a keeper of the flame. We think all we want is a lifetime of leisure, each perfect day the same, endless vacation. Well, that's all right if you're a kind of crustacean, but when you're born with an imagination, sooner or later you're feeling the fire get higher and higher. Spark of creation.